Well, Lia and Bizzy, thanks for joining. Appreciate having you on.
Thanks for having us. Thrilled to be
Um,
here.
I didn't think about where we start. So, Lia, why don't we start with you? A quick, your background, you know, your art background, and then eventually you're into the New Yorker and everything you do. If you want to just start from the early days.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have a very close kind of personal relationship with the magazine. My father was published in its pages in the 70s, worked with Robert Angel, and published a humor piece. I think they were called, it was what the Shouts and Murmurs used to be called before, casuals. They were called casuals.
Oh, I did not know.
So he had a piece published there in the 70s, and my mom in the 90s worked on the business side and was in charge of bringing desktop publishing and like scanning and pre-press work into the magazine. So from a young age, I had early exposure. My mom would get the magazine, I think, a week in advance, and she would proof it.
Oh,
And
wow.
we had all of the anthologies on every surface, on every wall. There was a Steinberg or Roz Chast cover. And it was a way that I bonded with both my parents, cartoons with my dad. Those visuals were easily accessible to a kid who was just learning to read. And that really shaped my sort of a full circle moment being published.
You really grew up with the New Yorker. I mean, truly grew up with the New Yorker. That's
I
amazing.
I really did. I mean, a lot of people that I've met have have relationships with the cartoons, So, but yeah, as a child, it was the visual formulas and the succinctness and the wit, it was all sort of getting ingrained in there, and then getting to visit the magazine at a young age. And I just remember the printing press. Oh, and visiting the printing press, like in Kentucky and in Colorado, and uh, yeah.
Very nice. It's it's
Paul
it's
has
in
his
your
own
blood.
printing press in his house.
Yeah, my wife and I do letterpress printing.
Oh, gorgeous.
So we are creative in that way too. So we have fun.
Like printmaking.
Yes, printmaking. So
Wow.
we have
Beautiful.
a couple of century-old letterpress printers.
Ooh, nice.
And you look like more of like you do painting, right? More so paint. So
Yeah.
did you kind of have your eye on covers before cartoons?
Oh, I had the opportunity to work with Francoise Mouly as an intern in the early 2000s. And getting to interact with her as well as Bob Mankoff and playing softball with the cartoonists. I was suddenly thrown into daily interaction with my heroes. So yeah, uh, cartoons, covers, that's always been a lifelong dream.
And then did you always want to kind of do cartooning, or
Oh, right, right. You asked about the
did
painting.
you
Yes.
kind
So
of just fall into
I've always
that?
been a painter, but my parents were, they wanted me to have a comfortable life. They didn't want to see me struggle. So I entered into the corporate world as a graphic designer and then became an art director, creative director, and which is an interesting factoid about Bizzy and I. We both come from advertising backgrounds, marketing backgrounds. So the way that we connect and the reason this collaboration is, I think, successful is because we come at it with like kind of a corporate mindset. As a visual storyteller, I'm used to collaborating with writers, and Busy as a writer is used to collaborating with the visuals. So I suppose I came about to this point in a roundabout way, but I don't want to take up more airtime.
No, all good. So it's not easy to sell a cartoon to the New Yorker. Was it kind of your relationship when you were doing the interning there? You met with Bob and kind of that was your in?
God, no, I was scared shitless of Bob Mankoff. A, a really lovely cartoonist, Michael Crawford, was our first baseman, and he was just such an amiable, sweet guy. And he was sort of he gave me a lot of pointers. I would draw up batches. We'd meet in Bryant Park, and he would tell me, he'd be like, all right, this is how it goes. Like, you got to stockpile this. You got to have 20 a week. Like, this is serious. Bob needs to see your commitment. And I mean, I was like 19 years old. I was still in college and I was like, wow, that's insane and intense. But through him, I met other cartoonists. And I mean, a lot's changed since Emma took over.
Well, what were you submitting back on the Bob?
Yeah, so I did do a couple of submissions and, hadn't developed any sort of, ego balancing strategy. So like when I didn't receive any answers from my first batch as a 20-year-old, I was like, okay, well that's it. Like I'm done. This isn't for me. I just yeah, I tried. I started.
Was Busy involved in those at that time, or were you kind of doing those on your own?
No, I mean, Bizzy, you're still, when did you graduate? I think were you the same year, like 2006?
Oh, a lady never tells.
Oh, a lady never tells. Oh, now everybody knows my age.
But
Uh,
yes, 2006. Are we exactly the same age? That's so funny. Leah and I only met 2 years ago.
Oh,
Oh,
So
really?
our collaboration only started almost exactly a year ago.
mhm.
So
And
And
it,
how did it come
it's
about?
all very new to us. At least
Actually,
to me.
before you tell me how the connection came about, why don't Busy you tell me about your early days? Obviously, it was from a writing background.
Yeah, so unlike Leah, I did not grow up in a New Yorker household. My first encounter with the New Yorker was really my first meaningful encounter was really I had just graduated from college and I was in Europe on a, post-college graduation backpacking trip with a friend of mine. And at a certain point, she had to go home to the United States, and I wanted to stick around and, do my Europe thing on my own, my solo adventure. But I was so ill-equipped to do this. I became like immediately lonely and depressed. And just about the only thing I could do was I was in Edinburgh at the time. I would go to the Edinburgh Central Library and try to use their computers that had recently gotten internet access. So I could, email friends at home or check, Facebook in its early days. And the computers with the free internet were so popular, you had to wait in a long line. And the line would snake past the bookshelves with New Yorkers and all sorts of periodicals. So I would just grab a copy and stand in line and just like flip through it. And I was immediately drawn to Shouts and Murmurs. And the humor, like it did wonders for my, my mental health and my solo sadness there. And then I kind of forgot about it until about 10 years later. I was trying to write a novel. Well, I did write a novel, let's be fair. I did write it. Nobody wanted to publish it. And for good reason. It was very amateur and it was a first attempt. But a couple of the rejections I received from literary agents had a common refrain, which was, it's not for us, but it's kind of funny. And that was news to me because I had not even intended to be funny. This was like my great American novel, my big debut into the literary world. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting information to receive. And it kind of prompted me to say, well, what if I tried purposefully to write something funny? And I actually took the protagonist from my failed novel and kind of wove him into a humorous short piece. And I thought to myself, this reminds me of Shouts and Murmurs. And this was in probably 2016. No, I know it was 2016. So I emailed it to the Shouts and Murmurs slush pile email inbox. And 2 months later, I got an acceptance. And 2 months later, it appeared not in the magazine, but on the Daily Shouts on the
Mhm.
website. And that just blew my whole world open in terms of, oh, this is something I could do. And for the next 3 years, I think I had three pieces published for the next 3 years. So 2016, 2017, 2018. And then I lost my sense of humor. So I stopped submitting and, I kind of moved on to other things. But it had been, since 2018, since I had really thought about uh, writing funny stuff in that vein, when I met Leah in 2023, probably. And I feel like I can't tell that story. I don't know. There's two of us in that story. I can't tell it myself. But that's when cartoons came into my life, I'll say, for the very first time.
Who was editing the Daily Shouts in 2016?
Emma
Was
Allen.
kind
Oh,
of
what? I
was.
don't think she was
Yeah.
the editor then, was she?
I believe she was editing shouts, but not cartoons.
Right. Yeah, I think that is the case.
She's the only person I had interacted with. So maybe if there was another editor, I didn't, they didn't cross paths with me.
Right.
I
Yeah.
want to make sure I heard this right, that your first submission was accepted by the New Yorker.
Oh, isn't it mind blowing? I mean,
Yes.
and
Yes,
that's
yes,
why
that's why I wanted
that's,
to clarify that because
yeah,
I
She's a
don't,
genius, is what we
man,
clarify
that's
here.
why I have to clarify too. It wasn't in the print
right.
magazine.
That doesn't
It was
matter to
on the
me.
website
Matter.
where a lot of short humor was being posted daily, where the odds I think were a lot better.
Yes.
But yes, it still was very mind blowing, and that sort of instant kind of win made me realize like, oh, this is a direction that I should go in. After hitting my
Yes.
head against the wall for many years trying to do stuff and just rejection at every turn and being like, what am I doing wrong? And it was like, oh, well, you should have been writing shouts and murmurs this whole time. Silly. But even then, then my next however many submissions to shouts were, all rejected.
Yeah.
So, it's
But
it,
still,
Yeah.
but
it comes
And
still.
and goes.
is there any way to send them? Like I know McSweeney's does a pretty much identical to Shouts and Murmurs. Is there anyone else that I don't know of? Is it really just them two?
I'd say they're the big players, but a lot more independent humor websites have popped up, I would say, in the last, like 5 or 6 years. There are a lot of sort of niche interest websites now. Like there's a lot of parenting humor sites. There's several like news related humor sites. There's women's interest humor sites. So people are kind of just making their own stuff now in that vein.
Well, you submitting the rejected shouts to any of those places?
Yeah, I submitted and published several in the McSweeney's verse, um, probably about the same, probably a few a year for those 3 years. Yeah, but it was kind of a mind-blowing, trajectory shift for me.
Yeah, so I saw you were both connected to New Yorker at different times in different ways. So I thought maybe Emma connected the two of you, but it sounds like that's not the case.
Oh,
So
Emma is trying to keep us apart, if anything. No, I can't speak for Emma. I've met Emma one time in my life. Love you, Emma. Really appreciate you. No, Leah, you say how we got connected.
Well, we got connected. If this is going on the YouTubes, I don't know if the visuals are going to go anywhere, but the artist in back of you is
Oh, yeah.
a New Yorker cover artist, George Colombo, who's been publishing covers at the New Yorker for, oh man, I want to say maybe 20, 30 years. And that is a print by him in the back, a risograph. And fun fact, that's actually Bobo and I crossing the main street in Narrowsburg. So
I did not know that.
now you know
I
it.
mean, I knew it was Narrowsburg, which is the town that we live near
Where
and
we
where
met.
George introduced us.
So I had
I
visited
did not
George
know that.
a couple of times up in Narrowsburg in my kind of eventual departure from Manhattan and Brooklyn. And through George, I mean, I think my very first visit, we went and we grabbed a cup of coffee and there was Bizzy and George was like, you gotta meet Bizzy. At that point, I was already submitting. I'd been submitting, or no, I was not sure where I was. I started working on more artistic submissions for Culture Desk, maybe in like 2017, 2018, in there. Didn't get around to submitting them until later, but George knew all this, and George knows
Mhm.
Bizzy, and Bizzy had been published, and George put us together, and it was like love at first sight for me, at least on my part. Next time I'd come up, I'd ask Bizzy to take a walk. We're both proud dog parents. And we took a walk with our dogs at a local trail, and I sort of pitched her, and I was like, "Hey, you write, I draw, match made in heaven. Let's do this." I love writing, but two minds better than one. And Bizzy
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, I don't know, but cool, thanks. Like, I'll get back to you," kind of a thing. And then at some point, Bizzy, you in Brooklyn, I think you sent me a message about Emily Flake's St. Nell's cartoonist residence. And Bizzy recommended me. She was one of my, you know, um, yeah, she recommended me. I guess what was your connection to Emily Flake?
Good question. I think I also met her in Narrowsburg at some event.
Probably through your, oh, she spoke at the Literary Fest.
Yes, that's probably
Um,
what it is.
we
Our
kind
little town in the middle of
of
nowhere is a
town.
hotbed for connections, and it's very strange what happens here.
So anyway, you turned me on to that. I ended up getting the residence and going the summer of 2023 and then moving to Narrowsburg and then started submitting at that residence. I was there with a few cartoonists who were very supportive. And as you've often talked about on this podcast, such just a great group of quirky, interesting, supportive artists. And they were like,
Hmm.
oh, you should totally submit. And I was like, oh, what about all these like 20 a week and da da da. And like, and they're like, no, Emma's so chill. Like she'll get coffee with you. Like just start, like whatever. And it was true. Like Emma got coffee with me and I printed out a batch and was like, please tell me why all of these are rejections. And she gave me like, information. And it was about a year of me submitting and getting rejected. And a friend of mine was just like, you got to find a writer. And I was like, I know the writer, I know the person, but she said no. So I asked Bizzy again. And I think she was going through a really, like, you were like really down on your luck. And
I don't know where that's coming from.
I saved you. I saved us.
Yeah,
No,
she saved me.
it was the right moment. And actually, because of Bizzy's luck, our very first batch together, we hit our very first cartoon.
And which one was that?
That was the tricycle cartoon. Two children, one's on I think they're both on tricycles. I
Hmm.
don't want to misquote you, Biz.
I have it right here in my hand.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it's one tricycle rider says to the other, I can't wait to graduate to a bicycle. And later, when my life takes a weird turn, a unicycle.
Love that. Love that one. I
Thank
remember that from a
you.
year ago.
Wow, that's flattering.
Yeah. It's because it takes a weird turn, which I like. Those are my favorite kind of cartoons.
I
Just
like a weird turn. I can't look at a tricycle and not think about like almost like, that image of the evolution of man from ape to standing human, where I think like there's a tricycle and then a bicycle, but then the unicycle is at
yeah.
the end. And it's like, if you have a friend who rides a unicycle, you know that their life is very strange.
Yes.
So I don't know. I just couldn't help but connect these innocent little girls to like what their what their eventual strange future might be.
Yeah, that is a funny idea. Where you go from there's the bicycle trajectory to the eventual one wheel.
I guess you could go even farther and be like, then it's like what is it, a four-wheeled wheelchair?
Oh
What's the
man.
equivalent?
Oh,
That's
I don't
after
know.
the unicycle accident
Yeah,
you go
after the
through.
unicycle accident, like you could just go on and with all of these wheeled vehicles.
well, I keep approaching Busy with this bicycle I had special made for us, where I sit in front, she sits in back, and we kind of pedal together through town.
Yeah, that
Wait,
never works out. Somebody doesn't pedal, and then somebody's doing all the heavy
I
lifting.
assume if she's sitting in the front, I cannot pedal and she'll never know.
Yeah.
I'll just be
Right. You
like,
just
I'm
gotta.
pedaling as hard as I can. You just can't see it. Keep going faster, Leah, faster.
Fun fact about that cartoon, as you guys know, we have these hundreds of drawings at this point, but it was so refreshing to try the drawing with a whole bunch of new lines and perspectives, which is key to our collaboration.
Yeah, it's fun. Like when I finally agree when I finally agreed to work with Leah, and Leah, no, we're very different on like 1,000 levels, which is part of why our collaboration is so fun. One thing is that I'm very reluctant to say yes to anything, and Leah is like a jump in the deep end kind of person. So when she approached me, yeah, I absolutely was like, "Ah, no way, I'm not doing this. I'm not getting involved with an artist, a collaboration, a cartoonist. I don't know anything about cartoons. I don't care." But eventually Leah won me over with her charm as she does. And and it was fun then that she had all this art that she had already made that was kind of waiting for publication. And so I would tell her like, let's play caption contest. Like you send me art that you've
Mhm.
already done or that's been rejected and like let me just play with it. Let me try to come up with captions. So it's not even initially we didn't even do a ton of complete ideas together, but a lot of it was like trading images and lines back and forth, which was really fun. Because I felt like, well, all I have to do is try to like solve the puzzle of this caption wise, which is way harder than it sounds, as you guys know. It's incredibly hard.
Yeah, with that, have you ever played the actual caption contest? Or did you not really have any interest in that?
I tried it one time 7 weeks ago.
Ah,
Oh,
Uh-huh.
during our, I feel like you're cheating on me.
I was cheating on you, which is why I've never spoken of this to you, Leah. It was contest number 929. It was the one with the therapist's office where there's two differently shaped clocks
Yeah.
sitting on the
yes.
therapist's couch. That experience was so traumatizing. I will never do it again. You
In
know,
what way?
so I follow the cartoon account on Instagram. So this image had come into my Instagram feed. And by the time I looked at it, there were already, hundreds of really excellent captions. And I was like, that is terrifying. I love working in my little silo where I don't see or hear from anyone else. And that was intimidating right off the bat. I was like, I can't do this. I won't do this. And then it was hard to then seeing everybody's suggestions, it was hard to try to guess something that hadn't already been posited. And I found myself going down the same lanes as other people, but doing it worse and being like, that is not, doesn't feel good at all. And then I had an anxiety of like, if I put my caption in this comment section, as people do, as I've seen Paul's captions in there, with lots of upvotes and lots of likes, which is again
Occasionally.
very intimidating. But I was like, other people are going to see this and it has my name on it. And if it's bad, which it very well might be, and I think it was, I was like, people are going to see this and they're going to know it. I like the comfort of a rejection from Emma where nobody else sees it but me and Leah. But to feel like, oh, the eyes of the caption contest community are on me. I was overwhelmed by it. So I was like, never again. It's too scary.
Yeah. Well, that's a disadvantage of having an unusual name. Busy. Not many of them out there.
Are you saying I should make a fake account and post
No,
my captions from it for safety?
No, I am not saying
Because
that.
I'm thinking that now.
You could
Well,
do
you
it.
could also submit your caption through their website, which no one sees.
That's true. That's true. But I know I would go look at what everybody else had put because my curiosity must be sated.
So you did put a comment? You did
I,
put your
I
caption?
did. I did. Honestly, I want to go delete it right now.
You're gonna have to tell us what it was, otherwise I'll have to go dig it up.
Okay, let's see.
right now.
I have it. I have it here. Okay. It's so bad. It's even worse than I thought it was. So it's the two clocks on the couples therapy couch. My caption was, she looks at a smartwatch and it makes me feel like a sundial.
Oh.
I tell you what, I don't know.
I can see where you're going with that. I can see where you're going with it.
Honestly, this is the same joke as the tricycle, bicycle, unicycle. It's the same exact thing
Oh, you
in
just
my
don't-
mind, where
I
it's
get
like
that one.
two analog clocks looking to the future. To the hot young clock is a smartwatch. Looking to the past, to ancient history, is a sundial. Why did I do that? I guess I just like that structure. That's so funny.
It worked for you before, so why not do it again?
I only have one joke, apparently.
That's it. And if it works, it works.
It didn't work. It didn't work. Oh boy.
I just can't believe that
I cheated on you?
the entire cartooning community and all of Instagram knew about this before I did.
Now I'm confessing it on the broadcast.
How
I
does
probably
the-
will never do it
It
again.
was just that one time. It didn't mean a thing.
Yeah, it was just once. It didn't mean anything. I can stop anytime I want to.
How does your collaborate? You meet once a week? Do you meet that often, or more often, or less often?
Twice a week. And we have a meeting agendas
You bring a jet? Do you do it in person or over the phone?
and we have spreadsheets.
I want you guys to guess who does the agendas and the spreadsheet.
I thought the
Just guess.
spreadsheet was a joke. Is there actually a spreadsheet?
There's multiple spreadsheets. No, there's just one right now. There's just
No,
one.
there's two.
Is there two?
An
Are there two?
Excel
Oh,
spreadsheet?
no, we made a master. We made a master, yeah.
Yeah. I like, yeah, this is another like difference between Leah and I like a lot of order and structure, and Leah is She is a true artist with an artist's soul.
Agent of chaos is what
She's
I
an agent of chaos. She can't be
politically
reined
correct.
in. I've
Uh,
tried. But
don't
yeah,
clip
we
my
meet.
wings, Busy. Don't clip my wings.
I try not to clip your wings, Leah. We meet on Wednesday for like a kickoff, is what I think of it as, where we're like, all right, we have a batch due next Tuesday. Like, what are we going to do this week? And then we meet on Monday and we say, okay, what did we do? And what is the final form of the batch going to be? And we usually these days are doing it over the phone, but we occasionally meet in person.
I mean, we literally live maybe 7 minutes away from each other, but
It's too, honestly, it's too close for comfort.
I mean, I feel
I need a lot of space.
So do you both kind of bring caption ideas to the table and then kick around which ones work and then try and like bounce ideas. If she comes up with an idea, you say that doesn't work, but maybe if you do this, that, and the other thing, that's kind of the process.
the great thing is that when we started doing this, Busy was like, I can't see anything in my mind. I don't have a visual mind. Like, I don't see images. And I was like, okay. Recently, Busy has been recently. I pull just in our bantering. I'll pull out something strange that one of us says, and then Busy will be like, and the visual is da, 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 da." Like ever since I was like, okay, but like ever since Busy started this, suddenly she does have a very visual mind, and I think as a writer, writers do have visual minds. You've got to see it to write about it. So
Yeah.
we're definitely enjoying a nice even it really is a true collaboration. She'll give me feedback on drawings and or just idea.
Love to tell you how to draw. Love it. As Leah alluded to, like our working life in marketing and advertising world definitely makes collaborating easier because that's what you do in advertising. There's a copywriter and there's an artist or a designer, and I think we navigate that really well, and that neither of us is too precious about feedback in terms of, if I don't like something, Leah doesn't get offended. If she doesn't like my caption, I don't usually get offended, although I do sometimes get offended. But another helpful thing with like sort of the differences between us is we do have a different sense of humor. So often the captions I think are hysterical, that of course are mine. Leah is like, this does not work at all, and vice versa. So that when we do land on something that tickles us both, it's usually really good because both of us are like, fighting for opposite comedy or
Mhm.
opposite captions. But then once in a while we hit something, it's like, oh, we both like that. Nice. That's like almost our signal that, like, oh, that's a winner. But other times, Leah's very generous. If I'm like, Leah, I really believe in this caption, like, will you just let me submit this caption? She'll be cool with it. And I think likewise, if Leah's like, I really love this caption, even though you hate it, it's like, all right, great. If one of us feels really strongly, then it can go in the batch. And if both of us feel tepid about it, then, leave it behind.
And Leah, how long does the actual, well, first of all, do you send roughs or are you kind of sending finished cartoons every time?
So I'm sending finished, mostly finished. Of course, it's a matter of time. So Emma has seen some rougher work from me,
Hmm.
uh, but I'm still very much developing a style. And at first, that held me back. I was like, I can't submit until I have a set style. But then it was just like, no, like you just got to start. You just got to get into it. I know that a lot of cartoonists, when they began, started submitting, and their styles have evolved. Like Ed Steed's style has really evolved over the years. And I don't think I'm at the point yet where I can submit roughs and have them be sold off the bat. It's important for me that Emma feels confident in knowing what it's going to look like. So it's just sort of a personal uh and I know it's a personal standard. And I also know that I'll have next week to refine the illustration. So if we have a great concept, there is sort of like a base level that I'll get it ready, a sort of pencil sketch, especially if it's something timely and we're submitting as a daily. But in general, I try to bring it to completion. And the cartoons that we have sold, uh, were the art was fine, was basically final.
I guess you're doing it on pen and paper, it sounds like, if you do a pencil sketch, you're not doing it on digitally.
Well, Peter Arno is a huge influence on me. And I mean the very first illustrators, Helen Hawkinson and God, now I'm just, all the greats, Steed and Steinberg and Charles Adams. I mean, I do come from a fine arts background, so I did begin working just in pen and ink, and I've kind of cycled through some different mediums from charcoal to aquarelle, water soluble charcoal. But where I've fallen is Procreate, is the iPad, because that is just faster. And George
Hmm.
Colombo, the artist who introduced us, the cover artist, is, I believe his first cover was an iPhone drawing. So he's a big proponent of, the easiest way possible to communicate an idea. And because we are churning out ideas and drawings, have to be very fast. And it is way faster for me to process on the iPad than it is for me to illustrate on hand, go scan it, spend the time in Photoshop or Procreate, piecing it together. I've created a small library of brushes in Procreate that I feel emulate the style that I am able to accomplish um, in ink, in
Hmm.
watercolor. So
So how long does one generally take?
it all depends. I was telling Busy that, we have these decks that we work in, and most of it's typed out. We're like, here's the visual idea and here's the line, or here's
Mhm.
1,000 different variations of the line, but here's the visual. Um, and I find myself putting off visuals. And just last night, sorry, today's Wednesday. Yeah. No, today's Tuesday. So yeah, last night I was like, Busy. The reason I haven't drawn this X cartoon, which I can't tell you because it's brilliant and every cartoonist listening to this is going to jump on it and submit it. But I was like, Busy, I haven't drawn this yet because the drawing is complicated. So I do find myself gravitating towards simpler ideas.
Yeah.
And there are certain visuals that I'll gravitate towards more.
And how many you're submitting every week, it sounds like?
We set a goal for ourselves this year. Busy, are you comfortable with me?
I don't even remember what our goal was. Please illuminate me.
We said that we wanted to submit 2 batches a month. So every Tuesday.
Oh, we've been doing good then.
Yeah, we've been doing real good, girl.
Okay, good. I thought it was going to be something very embarrassing. Okay, good.
So we set an attainable goal, I think. Um,
Yes.
and a structure that's in place. And with these weekly meetings, and we haven't deviated, very proud of us, although it is only March. So check in with us in November. But we had success in selling cartoons, just submitting 5. Busy was like, let's just go with our best, strongest ones and just do 5. 5 is better than 0. So we had been submitting 5, and then this year we I don't know. We've just been submitting more often than twice a week. And I believe yesterday we submitted 10, I think, with alternate captions. So like 2 of the same drawing with alternate caption.
Oh, wow, interesting. I never really heard of anyone doing that. That's
We're just living on the edge, like we're
You
just
know,
breaking the system.
I think they all do it, but nobody wants to talk about it. It's
well, no, I
like,
think
Why
the way
not?
most do it is they'll submit one. If that doesn't sell, they could let's try the other caption.
We've
Instead
done
of
that
sending
too.
two with
oh
one
yeah,
tag.
we're trying all the ways.
Yeah, we're gonna submit the next batch with all the images upside down and see if it just like sparks some kind of like, oh, I guess we have to spend longer with this batch because we have to turn all the images right side up. Who knows?
Yeah, I feel like five's the right number. I know Emma doesn't really seem to care. I feel like if I was her, I would care. I'd say I only want 5. I don't want some cartoonists send like 20. You just can't look at that many cartoons. You got to limit it. Send me your 5 good ones. Don't send me 20.
I mean, she looks at, what is it, like 1,000 cartoons a week? What is
Yeah,
it that
which makes
people are
much
getting?
much more than 1,000, I would assume.
Much more than 1,000.
Yeah,
Um,
probably several thousand.
Hmm.
Several thousand. Yeah.
Yeah, tough
Yeah.
to go through that many.
Oh, and I mean, they, and they're editing a lot. They have a lot of other responsibilities too.
Do you submit them elsewhere after the New Yorker does not take them?
Yes, our local publication, The River Reporter, has recently published our debut cartoon. Yes, we have been submitting to the other outlets, and Weekly Humorist has been kind.
Yeah, they're great.
And yeah, ego taking a beating.
Yes, it does, right? And just rejection after rejection is
You just gotta, it's like delusion and perseverance, like that just keeps us going. And sometimes it works.
I love rejections.
Ooh, get off on that, don't you, Ben?
No.
I really do. Again, as a writer who's had so much rejection for years and years and years, I like I just figured out a long time ago, like every time you get a rejection, first of all, it's information and it says, "Hey, okay, maybe this wasn't the right fit, or maybe the story is not ready, or maybe this, editor doesn't connect with what you're saying, or maybe there's a better way you could say it." But also like it just is like motivation to submit again or to try again or just to keep going. I don't know. I don't mind it. To get any response at all is like that's all I want is just somebody say no or yes, but just, get back to us. That's
That's
the great part.
particular, that's a lore, that's like the rejection lore of the New Yorker. Like,
Yeah, does it feel arbitrary sometimes where it's like, oh, they chose that one. That's weird. I would have chosen 10 others before I chose that one. Like, do you always feel like they're choosing the right ones, or is it just like, oh, surprised they went with that one? I
I
like.
am I believe that the three that we've sold, I mean, we're still very new at this. I believe those were the best in their respective batches. We put them first in the batch when we sent them in, which to me shows that we believed that that was our best work. So I think there's ones that haven't gotten chosen in other batches where I go, oh, I thought that would have been a really good one. But there's so many excellent cartoons. Like who's to say what the reason is, or there's just too many.
Yeah.
I mean, I also think about, in my delusional bubble, state of mind, I need to remind myself that David Remnick is dealing with like world events, actual news.
But what about our cartoon?
Yes. There needs to be some humor in this.
That's got to be
Priorities.
his best day of the week, right? Just the where you can just relax and look at cartoons and not have to write about the president.
I'd hope so.
So while you're doing cartoons, are you doing covers? It seems like because your paintings are so beautiful, it seems like your art is like tailor-made for a New Yorker cover.
Thank you, Vincent.
Yes, I
I'm
second
blushing.
that. Her art is incredible. Leah is such an amazing painter. When I first saw her paintings, I was so blown away. And the different kinds of art she can do, it blows my mind. And yes, she should be on the cover immediately, if not sooner.
Francoise, you better be listening. Um, Busy said so. Yes, I mean, I've been drawing covers for the New Yorker since I was a kid. I've got sketchbooks from elementary school where I've hand lettered the masthead and, I mean it's I did last year I started submitting covers in earnest in I guess the beginning of 2024, end of 2023. Yeah, so all of this New Yorker stuff in earnest sort of picked up and I've gotten one rejection email. So in the lore of rejection at the New Yorker, at first you don't hear anything and you feel like a
Right.
complete failure and you keep submitting, in blind hope. And then eventually, maybe somebody gets back to you and is like, thanks, no thanks. And that is a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That means
You
it's a matter
notice.
of time, I
Yeah.
think. I think once
That's
you
right.
get that, you're on the right track.
So that was huge.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great. That's exciting.
Genevieve, who works with Genevieve Worms, who works with Francoise, excellent, incredible eye and mind, the two of them. And she sent me an email. And so I've just been sort of chasing that high. And for the covers, mostly that is hand. And right now, mostly India ink and watercolor or color digital. When I published my Culture Desk piece before we hit a cartoon, those were all India ink and digitally colored. And yeah, I think you guys were talking about the Centennial last week. Michael Maslin was on,
Mhm.
and there's a bunch of incredible exhibits right now at the New York Public Library about the history of the New Yorker and Society of Illustrators. You guys covered this. Tune back in to episode. But seeing the show at Alliance Française, the cover show, it occurred to me that like I could submit my paintings. Like there are huge paintings there. So I'm feeling, yeah, it's like a blue sky moment. Feeling excited.
Seems like covers are harder just because
Oh yeah, totally.
and because it just could be anything in the world. I mean, like any type of painting is pretty, like a cartoon, you want this to be funny. The cover is just sometimes it's just grass where it's like anything looks good if you're a good painter.
It's
So it's like hard to decide what to even send them as a cover. I wouldn't even know where to begin in that realm.
well, I think what's working for Busy and I, and what resonated with me when I first met Emma was she wants our perspective. And I do believe that a lot of the contributors at the New Yorker are relating what it is to be alive today as a New Yorker, living in the city or not, or experiencing the world. So Busy and I often go back to our personal experiences, for our perspective. So that's always a jumping off point. I'm making the paintings I want to make, and if I sort of have a hunch that it might work, I'll send it in. I do have a couple images. I took a beautiful image of Busy grabbing a snack at a bodega, that I'm excited to illustrate.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oreos, guys. Oreos
Oh,
from a
yeah.
Oreo.
stand on the street.
Yeah.
There is nothing like them. They've got that special street seasoning.
Knew that we'd be up late at the Centennial, and we are like, we need that midnight snack. And yeah, I think just relating your personal experience, and as much as you can infuse that into your work, there's an interest to see what you have to do. But there's certainly a very particular science to cartooning, maybe less of a rigid science with cover illustration.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta say that I was going through your paintings earlier today, and I love the way you use ambient lighting in your paintings. The ones here, there's something about that I don't know. There's this painting I remember from being a child that was just, somebody was using ambient lighting, and I remember that from being a kid. And whenever I see somebody doing that with, using some type of lighting in there, it sucks me back into my childhood for some reason. So I love the way you do that.
Thank you. That's such a lovely observation. I've never heard that described. Thank you.
Uh, One other thing I want to tell me about this Eros drawing. I'm probably pronouncing Eros.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
Now this is a cover.
here we
These
go.
are you drawing from your head, or you have models posed for these for this art here?
So Erostron was a nomiker that I adopted during the pandemic when I was severely socially isolated and deprived of touch and sexual abilities, and found a lot of solace in creating sexy paintings of strangers, mostly who I connected with on dating apps, on Reddit. And as a fine artist, you're trained in drawing from the model, and it's quite beautiful and classical and quite arousing. And during the pandemic, it was just like, damn, like I gotta do something, and painting these sort of erotic, beautiful scenes was something that really put me in touch with my vitality. And but I was ashamed. I was scared to sort of claim them outright. And last summer, I had my first solo show at a sex shop in Williamsburg called Shag. And the woman there who curates the shop owner, she's also, I think she's got like an MFA. So she puts together these beautiful shows above the sex toys and the lubes and the leather straps. And I couldn't have picked a better place for this work. I recently showed another iteration of that show here locally. With a woman, Susan Mendoza, who's doing burlesque and cabaret in a very experiential, interactive way, this sort of like experiential theater art show kind of a thing. But Busy is constantly sort of pushing me into any excuse she can get for me to make a sexy painting of her. I mean, a sexy painting for for a cartoon. I'm sorry, sometimes I blend my fantasies with my reality.
Leah, I know you want to paint a sexy painting of me, but like just do a sexy cartoon painting.
And
So,
they're all done with paintbrush. I mean, you have one here, a guy just standing naked in the woods.
mhm.
Uh, that's just done with a paintbrush.
That was actually created in the Venetian style of painting with a grissage underlayer in all pink and then thin veneers of oil paint um, over it. That one's oil painting Most of the Aerostron work is watercolor and ink because during the pandemic, I was not able to get into my oil painting studio. I had to work with non-toxic materials in a smaller space. So I went sort of into a smaller format there. But the cover rejection that I got was something in the Aerostron vein, figurative, sexy.
Yeah.
We're trying to bring sex back to the New Yorker. That's our goal.
That's what Leah's trying to do. I am not
Sex
trying to
back.
do that, but I am definitely along for Leah's ride.
I
I
mean,
I
yeah,
am so impressed with her and the expansive work that she does, from like her large scale paintings to her sexy paintings to her illustration work to her covers. Like she truly is multifaceted. I don't know how she has enough time in a day to do all of this work. And then to find these hot guys on dating apps and then get them to take their clothes off so she can paint them. Like she's truly talented.
what I discovered is that everybody's just looking for an excuse to get naked.
That's
Yeah,
a
we'll
good
put the
that's a
link.
good line for something.
That's a good line. Write that
We'll put
down,
the
That's a
Biz. Write it
caption. That's a
down.
caption.
Yeah. We're always doing that. Oh, that's a caption. That's a caption. 99% of the time it's not a caption. But you feel it in the moment. You're like, "Oh, that feels like something."
Yeah, and it could always lead to something.
I'm literally
My
writing it down.
Okay, good, good. Uh, I was going through your short humor pieces earlier today, Busy, and I was reading the ones you did in New Yorker, and I was just going through and reading, and all of a sudden I came across one. I was expecting it to be a New Yorker humor piece, and it wasn't.
What was
And
it?
it was what was it called here? Windshield wiper.
Oh, yeah.
So it took me by surprise because I was waiting for it to get funny, and
Oh no, that one is never gonna get funny.
no, it didn't. And then
Oh,
I realized this was not going to get funny, and but it was a good feeling though because it was a weird changeover from that to going, this is good. I like
Oh,
this.
thank you.
So it was just interesting to come across that and just be surprised by it. So I appreciate that you have this range of writing funny and also writing soulfully, I guess, or
Thank you.
introspectively. So
Thank
Busy
you.
contains multitudes. She's
Yes.
constantly
busy
trying to get
contains
that in as a line
multitudes.
in the cartoons. I'm just like, please no, it's a Bob Dylan quote. Or no. Walt Whitman? Wait, what?
Walt Whitman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Busy. God, you and your multitudes. I just wish I could get into them.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's nice of you to read my stuff. Like I said, I haven't really published or even really written anything super funny or shouts and
Stop. Just
murmursy
stop. Just
in a
stop.
while.
Busy
But
just put
Leah,
out. Let me talk over you.
Leah, don't fight with me. Guys, this is how every meeting goes between us.
I
Okay,
want to talk about a
fine.
recent
Talk.
accomplishment of yours.
Fine.
Fine, just tell me. Busy just put out a book compilation of her published pieces.
Yeah, personal space.
Personal.
Wow. Yes, thank you.
And
Yes.
I believe they're all humor, but
They are all humor. I have amassed this small pile of humor pieces and I wanted to do something with them. So I did self-publish this book featuring illustrations by, you guessed it, Lia Strasser. Thanks, Leah, for adding your whimsical visuals to the book. But in a way, creating that book was almost like putting to bed in a way my humor writing era, which it may come back. I hope it comes back at some point. But like you alluded to, Paul, I do have other pieces that I'm writing that are more memoir-y or more thoughtful or less funny. I don't think I have anything super tear jerking or serious, but I do feel like I am trying to explore other parts of my writing beyond, the structure of a shouts and murmurs piece.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that that you're doing that.
Thank you.
Humor is great, but I also like, it's you get into somebody's mind, and how they're looking at the world. And I like maybe it's a little voyeurism in there, just being able to see somebody else's thought process and seeing how they handle this.
Aren't we all voyeurs? I mean, don't we all just want to look through everybody's curtains and just see what's going on?
Yes.
I mean, I that's such a human impulse, isn't it?
hmm
When I go into people's houses, I immediately go to their bookcase. If they have a bookcase, I will go and see what books they have there because that tells me a lot about that person. Seeing
Wow,
what
I go to their underwear drawer, but okay.
I am
Leah
not
goes to their
inviting you
medicine
over at any
cabinet.
point here.
I go to the jewelry box. I just want the money.
Yeah, now we're talking.
Medicine cabinet. Medicine
What can we
cabinet.
pawn?
The
What can
guy
we
Yeah,
steal and
exactly.
pawn from this person's home? See, now this is a concept. Hmm.
Oh,
I'm gonna let you go soon, but one other thing caught my eye. Leah, I see you did a culture desk at Rayo's.
yeah, I
Did,
did.
did they let you eat there when as you did the piece?
This is what you need to read and find out.
Ooh, a
I've
challenge.
read it. I
I,
know
I
how it
felt
goes. We were just talking about that recently, weren't we, Ben, on the podcast?
yeah, Rayo's always catches my eye because I have not ate there, but I've tried to. My father ate there. He talked his way in, and
Wow.
now
That's
I'm trying to
impressive.
talk my way in.
Hey, if I ever get an in, if it's not getting published at the New Yorker, I don't know what.
Yeah, he went there randomly with the cookbook, and
Ooh,
Oh, clever.
cool.
he knew who the owner was back in the day, and he said, "Hey, would you mind signing it?" The guy signed it, and then he said something like, "I know how hard it is to get a table here. I was hoping maybe." He looked at the book and said something like, uh, "Oh, I was hoping you'd write. I hope you enjoy your meal tonight." And the guy laughed, and then he just schmoozed his way in,
Incredible.
and they just brought a table out from like the kitchen and just put him like in a random spot. Uh, I've
It's
tried
good
it
to know they've
twice.
got an extra table sitting around.
As
You
I'm
could
sure
use
you know,
that.
you can go there and have a drink at the bar and
Yes.
then try and talk your way in. I've tried it twice so far, I failed, but he did it, so now I
Oh.
want to.
But you got in and you got to the bar.
Well, anyone can go sit at the
Oh,
bar.
I know.
So I have done that. Uh, I don't even care about eating it. I just want to say that I did it. So and I don't want to be invited. I want to talk my way in.
Love
Uh, so that's
Spook
on
Talker.
on my bucket list.
Nice.
Same. Let's go. Let's try.
We can go try and talk our way in.
Yeah. We're on this podcast.
Well, did they see your piece here? If you bring this piece, that could be your in.
I think I sent it to some sort of PR, something or other. I mean, they're not exactly social on the
No, you
media.
just got to go talk to the bartender and show him the
Leah,
art, chat.
Leah can schmooze her way into just about anywhere. I have seen it in practice.
I mean, that's what this story is about. So see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, that was fun to illustrate that experience.
And that was your debut in the magazine,
That was my debut.
right?
Oh, really?
Before
That was the first-
before we had our first cartoon.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think it was about a year maybe before, or 6 months or something. And that came out of my meeting with Emma, just being like, yeah, these cartoons are okay, but like, do you have anything else like you want to show me? So then I started, submitting longer form pieces.
Yeah. Oh, this has been great. We have you for an hour. I don't like to keep the guests longer than an hour. That hour went fast. Anything else you wanted to share or plug before we let you go?
You got the book. So
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would say
we'll put the
Oh.
link for sure for both of your websites.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In the show notes.
Lovely. No, this has just been so nice. It was so nice of you to invite us, and your questions are so thoughtful. And I mean, I've listened to multiple episodes, so I know that you're thoughtful interviewers. And it's obviously it feels very validating to like get a cartoon in the New Yorker, but then even more validating is like somebody looked at it and thought about it and
Mm-hmm.
wants to talk about it. That's really nice. So I appreciate the work that you do on the pod.
we do it for
Yeah, well,
love.
congrats. And we
Thank
look
you.
forward to seeing more of your work. I'm sure we'll see many more. And the cover, I'm sure.
Yes, that's next. Cover. Get it, Leah.
Yes, I'm working on it. Thank you both. It's really the work you do on this podcast is incredible. I mean, just the wealth of knowledge and the history. It's an incredible legacy, and you're doing it justice. So
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, well, thanks a lot.
Yes, this has been fun. Enjoyed this.
Yeah, this
Always
was
enjoyed it.
fun.
same.
Absolutely.
Leah, how many drinks have you had?
5.
I don't believe you.
Okay, just 3.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Good night.
Bye. I'm trying to quit, I swear.